Today, I'm going to share my experiences with you, Doctora Anxiety. Have you ever felt your heart race, your hands sweat, and your mind speed up with worries that seem to take over everything? These could be signs of an anxiety disorder. In this video, we'll explore the top 5 anxiety disorders, understand their causes, symptoms, and what can be done to manage them. We'll debunk myths and share valuable insights so you can recognize signs and seek effective help. The last one I didn't know was a type of anxiety. I was surprised when I found out. Generalized anxiety disorder, JD. First on our list is generalized anxiety disorder. Do you know when that worry seems endless? We're talking about that feeling where you can't turn off your thoughts, even when everything around you seems calm. This could be an indicator of generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD. People with GAD experience excessive anxiety and worry for months, worrying about various activities or events, even the most common daily tasks. Suppose you have a presentation at work next week. While most people might feel butterflies, someone with GAD might spend days or weeks beforehand losing sleep, imagining disastrous scenarios, or harshly critiquing their ability. Not to mention physical symptoms like fatigue, muscle tension, or even difficulty concentrating, which are very common. Now you might be thinking, and what causes all this? Science is still looking for complete answers, but we know that a mix of genetic factors, chemical changes in the brain, and life experiences play a significant role. The good news is that, with therapy and in some cases medication, it's possible to manage these symptoms and lead a relatively normal life. Speaking of symptoms, that reminds me a lot of something that can be even more intense and sudden: panic disorder. In the next segment, I'll tell you what it's like to live with this disorder and how it can really make you feel out of control. Shall we? Panic disorder. Moving on to the second disorder, panic disorder stands out for sudden attacks of intense fear that can include palpitations, sweating, trembling, and the sensation of imminent disaster that seems irrational. Imagine you're simply walking in the park or maybe settling down to watch a movie at home, when suddenly your heart starts pounding uncontrollably. You feel a tightness in your chest, your breathing becomes labored, and a wave of inexplicable fear overwhelms you. It seems like you're having a heart attack, but it's a panic attack. Panic disorder is characterized by these intense and sudden episodes of fear that arise without a clear trigger. During a panic attack, the physical symptoms are so overwhelming that many people end up going to the emergency room, thinking they are in mortal danger. And the worst part is that after an attack, the fear of having another one can become constant, leading the person to avoid places or situations they believe could trigger a new episode. But what really causes a panic attack? Although the exact causes are not fully understood, experts believe that a combination of genetic factors, stress, and changes in brain neurotransmitters are involved. The upside is that panic disorder is highly treatable. Therapies such as cognitive behavioral therapy have proven very effective, helping the person to modify catastrophic thoughts that trigger the attacks. And speaking of thought modifications, this leads us directly to social anxiety disorder. In the next section, we'll explore how the fear of social situations can be paralyzing, and what makes someone so anxious in interactions that many of us consider routine. Shall we understand better? Social anxiety disorder, SAD. In third place, we have social anxiety disorder, also known as social phobia. This disorder is characterized by an overwhelming fear of social or performance situations, where the person feels observed, judged, or humiliated. Now imagine you're at a party or a networking event. While many seem to enjoy the opportunity to meet new people, for someone with social anxiety disorder, SAD, these situations are incredibly stressful. People with SAD often feel intense fear of being watched, judged, or humiliated in public. This isn't just about shyness. It's a debilitating concern that can prevent someone from performing everyday activities, like speaking in public, eating in restaurants, or even shopping. Let's consider a practical example. Joanna, who has SAD, was invited to a work meeting where she needs to present a project. Days before, she is already anxious, losing sleep, and rehearsing every word she will say. On the day of the presentation, her anxiety is so high that she starts to sweat, her hands tremble, and she feels nauseous. Joanna is convinced that everyone is judging every aspect of her performance, which only increases her fear. SAD is caused by a combination of biological and environmental factors. People with a genetic predisposition to anxiety may develop SAD, especially if they have experienced embarrassing or humiliating situations in the past. Fortunately, like many anxiety disorders, SAD also responds well to treatments such as cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps challenge and change negative thoughts, and exposure therapies, which gradually desensitize the person to feared social situations. As we talk about avoiding feared situations, this leads us to another important disorder, separation anxiety disorder. Curious to understand how this manifests? Separation anxiety disorder. The fourth disorder we will address is separation anxiety disorder, often recognized in children, but also present in adults. This disorder is marked by excessive anxiety about separation from people to whom the individual has a strong emotional attachment, such as parents or intimate partners. Have you ever felt that ache in your heart when saying goodbye to someone you love, even if for a short time? For people with separation anxiety disorder, this feeling is amplified and can become debilitating. This disorder is usually associated with children, who cry when a parent leaves, but the reality is that adults can also suffer deeply from it. Adults with this disorder often experience an excessive fear of losing close people, or that something bad will happen to them when they are separated. This fear may seem irrational to others, but for those suffering from it, it's a constant and very real concern. For example, imagine Anna, an adult who calls several times a day to check if her parents are okay, always worried about the possibility of them having an accident or becoming seriously ill. The basis of this disorder can be both genetic and influenced by life experiences, such as a significant loss in childhood or a difficult separation. Treatment usually involves psychological therapy, which helps the person understand and manage their anxieties, promoting healthier ways of dealing with separation. Now, speaking of exacerbated concerns about health and well-being, this leads us directly to the last disorder we will discuss: illness anxiety disorder, formerly known as hypochondria. In the next segment, we'll explore how concern for health can consume a person's life, distorting the way they perceive their body and symptoms. Ready to dive into this complex universe? Let's go! Illness anxiety disorder. Finally, let's understand illness anxiety disorder, formerly known as hypochondria. This disorder involves an obsessive concern with the idea of having or acquiring a serious illness. Have you ever met someone who is constantly worried about the idea of being seriously ill? This is the reality for those living with illness anxiety disorder, formerly called hypochondria. People with this disorder often interpret common bodily symptoms, a headache, a malaise, or even a minor injury, as signs of serious and incurable diseases. Let's think about the case of Carlos. He often experiences headaches, and instead of considering common causes such as tension or dehydration, he fears it might be a sign of a brain tumor. He researches symptoms on the internet, visits various doctors for tests, and even with negative results, his worry does not diminish. This leads him to a constant cycle of fear, doctor visits, and anxiety, affecting his quality of life and social interactions. This disorder can be triggered by a variety of factors, including a genetic predisposition to anxiety, past experiences with real illnesses in the family, or a naturally worry-prone personality. Treatment usually involves cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps the person question and change the way they interpret and react to signs from their own body. In some cases, anti-anxiety medications may also be prescribed to help manage symptoms. Illness anxiety disorder shows how the mind can strongly influence the perception of the body and how education and support are crucial for managing this condition. Understanding and proper treatment can significantly improve the lives of those suffering from this anxiety. Anxiety, in its various forms, is not just a matter of nervousness. It's a real medical condition that requires attention and professional care. Now that we've explored some of the main anxiety disorders, I hope you have a clearer view of how these conditions can vary and how each one affects people's lives in unique ways. If you recognize yourself in any of the symptoms discussed, or if you know someone who may be facing these challenges, the first step is to seek information and support. There's no shame in seeking help. On the contrary, it's a sign of strength and an important step towards improving quality of life. Let's continue spreading knowledge and promoting mental well-being for all. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of many people. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.